You are listening to the Rewrite the Rules podcast. We are your hosts. My name is Beth.
I'm Natalie.
And I'm Harriet.
Rewrite the Rules podcast releases a new episode every Monday, and we're all about helping you achieve a happier and healthier relationship with food and your body.
We're real people with real life experiences, so you can expect us to be keeping it raw and real in each and every episode.
Don't forget to follow and subscribe to us on whatever podcast platform you use, and share the love with a friend that you think will love this podcast.
Now, let's get on to the episode.
Hello
everyone.
How are you? I hope everyone's well. Welcome back to the Rewrite the Rules podcast. You've got myself and Natalie today, and we are so excited to bring you today's very valuable and much requested topic.
Yes, today's episode is going to be 7 steps to mindful eating. So to give our listeners a quick definition, mindful eating is an approach to food that focuses on individuals' sensual awareness of food and their experience of the food. So everyone can benefit from being a bit more mindful with their eating habits, and research actually suggests mindful eating can lead to greater psychological well-being, increased pleasure when eating, and body satisfaction. And to preface, mindful eating isn't a diet, it's just a more conscious way of eating and enjoying food. So when you slow down and pay attention to how and what you eat, you're more likely to make better decisions that will nourish your body.
Absolutely. I love that. And thank you for giving us a definition. I think that's super helpful. And just to remind everyone that it isn't a diet, I think once we start throwing these sorts of words around, I think it's easy to get it confused with like the new fad or just like the new thing to do. It's simply just a sort of way of eating. So we want to sort of give you some guidelines on how you can start practicing this a little bit more, and just help you to continue developing a healthier relationship with food, as this is obviously the goal of our podcast. So we're going to break it down into 7 tips for you. Tip number 1, and I know that everyone listening right now is really going to feel called out with this tip and really benefit from this, and it's to unplug. So whether that's watching the TV, or I am guilty of scrolling on TikTok whilst I'm trying to eat. And I feel like, especially the past sort of 2 years, everyone has got TikTok just like playing constantly. Do not feel guilty. We are all sort of victims of this as well. But whether you're just trying to text whilst you're eating your food, we want you to be sitting down without distractions, without feeling the need to rush. Just so you're able to pay attention to what you are eating and how much you are eating. If you are like an avid multitasker, I definitely am. But if you also feel like sometimes you eat or snack mindlessly, this could be your issue. So just try and take a break, try to savor your food, just focus on the meal in front of you. I understand that it's a privilege for a lot of people to even just get 5 minutes of peace to eat your lunch, especially like our parents out there. We understand it can be super difficult, but as and when you can, just try it, especially if you sort of realize you've maybe fallen into a bad habit of eating too quickly, or not actually even like tasting your food. Like I sometimes joke about like inhaling a bag of crisps instead of actually eating them. Or, you know, I maybe only think I've eaten 2 biscuits and actually I turn around and I consumed 6 and I can't really remember where the other 4 went. Moments like this, I think everyone can probably relate to, but everyone can also improve upon.
Definitely, like you saying that, like there are actually times where I've been like sitting there, probably been distracted by whatever, and then I'll look back at the packet and I am so disappointed that it's all gone. And I'm like, has someone just come over and just stuck their hand in like my bag of crisps and just eaten them all? But it is because I think we are so used to, like you say, being distracted by our phone and almost feeling like it needs to be there as like a background sort of thing. We feel a bit uneasy, like, and I know that even I'll just find myself just mindlessly scrolling or constantly going back to my phone, and it's like you really have to make that conscious effort of saying, right, I need to put my phone to the side and I need to be at one with my food right now, because that is more important, and you will get more satisfaction out of your food when you're fully present and aware of, you know, everything that you're eating. So I love that one.
Absolutely. And I think it's just something that will feel easier with time. I think the first time you try and put your phone to the side and don't touch it for the next 5 minutes, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel unnatural. You are going to be itching to have a look, but just try it a couple of times and it will eventually get easier.
Definitely. So tip number 2 that we have is eat slowly. So your brain needs time to register that you're actually eating. In doing this, it's going to communicate to your body that you are actually full. So it takes your brain on average about 20 minutes to know that you've had enough food. So putting your fork down in between bites and finishing what's in your mouth before going to the next bite is really going to help, especially when you're suffering with binge eating. It can be that real thing of that fog that comes over you, you know, that switch, and you eat so quickly, almost in anticipation for restriction the next day. Whereas if you tell your body and your mind, it's okay, I can calm down, this food is here, I am allowed to eat it, I'm going to feel no guilt. It really can help in providing, again, satisfaction and, you know, fullness. Your body needs to feel full and you to get those hunger cues back. And it's actually really nice when you do fully start feeling those proper hunger cues.
Absolutely. And I think it's so nice to just feel a comfortable amount of fullness. And that's the danger of just eating so quickly, consuming so much within such a short period of time. You do end up with that uncomfortable fullness, the type of fullness that literally almost feels painful and takes over your whole body. That isn't a normal level of fullness. That isn't the level of fullness that we want you to aim for. We want sort of a more satisfied, comfortable fullness. So just making the effort to actually put whatever utensils you're using down to the side, just to get into that habit. We're not saying do this for every single meal, but just a few meals in a week. Just try this, make the effort. And I definitely feel like you're going to see some positive results from this.
Yeah, same, definitely.
So the next tip number 3, is to chew well and slow down. So fully chewing your food and taking the time to properly eat your food can be so beneficial, especially to sort of combat bloating and things like that. This can help you feel true satisfaction from your food and sort of leading you to recognize when you are actually full and just being able to like enjoy your food more, because food is a pleasure. Yes, it is to fuel our body, but you deserve to enjoy your food. You deserve to taste your food, and your body deserves to consume food in a calm and enjoyable way. And obviously improving your digestion as well. So some experts actually say, and I definitely don't chew each bite this much, but some experts suggest that actually chewing 30 to 50 times each time you take a bite. That does sound a lot, but even just making the effort just to chew a tiny bit more, this is definitely an area that I think we can all improve on, me especially.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I remember when I was younger, like my dad actually used to tell me off because I used to chew my food so much. Like Weetabix, I would sit there and I'll be eating my Weetabix for a good hour, and he'd be like, "You don't need to chew Weetabix. It's basically porridge." But like, I really do put that towards like having such a good relationship with food as I was growing up, because it really does allow you to recognize again when you're full. If for anybody that's struggling with that, and I know it is a really big struggle, because having times of overeating and really not knowing when you're hungry anymore, or not knowing when you're full, it can be quite frustrating when you're in recovery. Whereas if you take this tip and you really like, sometimes it's like, God, okay, like surely it's time now, like I don't have to keep on chewing my food. But it really can help you, again, just be aware of when am I full. Like you can start tuning in with your body, and I think that is a really nice feeling. And you know, it's you taking care of yourself is really important. So yeah, tip 4 that we have now for you is embrace your senses. So take the time to recognize all your senses whilst you eat, really be at one with them, because this is your way of to show that you're appreciating fully how your food tastes. And this is by honoring your senses. You know, you're allowing your body to pick up and realize your body's reactions to food, such as, like we said, fullness and satiety cues. So it's recognizing how food sort of tastes, it's recognizing the textures of food, noticing the colours, sounds. You know, eating isn't just about the taste. And it's trying to tap into all of these senses, and it's a great way to be fully present whilst you eat.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think this tip, especially sort of when I was tackling trigger foods or fear foods of mine, just to be able to sort of take the chocolate bar and have a bite and just really slow down and enjoy the whole process, not seeing it as this feared item of food, but just recognizing that it's so much more than this scary piece of chocolate, I think really helped me personally. And I think all of these tips are just another way to slow the whole process down. If you are suffering with like a negative relationship with food or your body or exercise or anything, you are going through such a tough time and you're probably being really hard on yourself, hard on your body. So I think just embracing your senses and just being able to enjoy, like dissect the eating experience and just enjoy it in this way, I think is going to be so helpful for a lot of people. And this is definitely something that helped myself as well.
Yeah, and I love that as well that you said there, when you're actually embracing those senses, like say with chocolate, if it's a fear food or a trigger food, we can view these foods as really scary, almost like they have this personality. We're giving them this piece of food an actual identity. Whereas if you're fully aware, or you're really focusing on how that food tastes, how it feels, the color of it, it's almost like you're fully embracing it, and you're realizing, or you're trying to change that relationship that you have with that food, which is what we all need to start doing. Food isn't to be feared.
Absolutely. And like you said, it doesn't have a personality. I think it really just helps like taking food off the pedestals that you've put them on. If you put them on like a pedestal of good food and then bad food, I think this exercise just really helps you take them down and just start repairing your relationship with the food. And that's all we aim to do.
Sorry for interrupting the episode, but we just want to give a very quick shout out to our sponsors, us.
If you're loving this episode and the podcast so far and want to support this podcast further, then head to the link in the show notes and show your appreciation by donating us a coffee. We'd massively appreciate it.
There are also other ways to support us for free, like dropping us a rating and review on whatever platform you're currently listening to us on. If you're watching us on YouTube, then please like and subscribe. And you can, of course, follow us on Instagram. It's at Rewrite the Rules Pod, and share our podcast with anyone that you think will love it.
We do all offer our own coaching and therapy packages if you would like to work with any of us. All links to those and more info are all once again in the show notes.
Now let's get back to the podcast.
But tip number 5 is honouring your hunger. So we know that this one is a little bit difficult. Obviously, please use the previous tips to sort of get to this stage. When you are experiencing hunger, honour it, because this is something we often ignore due to maybe restriction with food or anything you've experienced in your past. We sort of ignore these hunger signals. And then when we finally honour it, we can actually start to reduce binges. So I'm very aware that sort of the feeling of hunger can trigger binges for a lot of people, but the more you say yes and the more you sort of give the power over, you can reduce these binges. Totally understand that like your cues will have been heavily skewed. You're not always going to experience hunger because you've been ignoring it for so long. So your body's like, what's the point in even telling her she's hungry if she's just going to ignore us anyway? But in the moments that you do sort of feel hunger, and obviously if you start to consistently fuel your body is going to respond with trust. It is going to trust that you are willing to repair your body, heal your body, and it's going to start bringing these cues back. So the more you just say yes to them, don't respond with panic. It often sends people into panic mode, being like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to eat everything now. Just respond in a calm and thoughtful way. Practice slowing the process down with the previous tips. Use what we've already told you. Bring that to this, and just remember that your body deserves food regardless of what you've eaten or how you've moved your body that day. If you are experiencing hunger and you already feel like you've eaten enough, this is your sign to have something extra to eat. Your body is telling you that it needs something. You shouldn't ignore it.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, I mean, we as humans, I think, and especially when you are struggling with food and, restriction, or maybe you're really sort of obsessed with a diet, or you have been, we get very regimental with how we eat. And we fear if it's the next day and we're like, we've eaten our lunch and we're like, I'm still hungry. And look, that is okay. You need to honor that, because we don't have sort of the same levels of hunger every day. You know, we are all different. And now, you know, if I have my lunch and it was a lunch that I had yesterday, and I think, actually, I'm still really hungry after that, I will honor that, because all that's going to happen is I'm going to get to the evening and I'm probably going to start picking at things. And I would rather in that moment be fully satisfied. And I definitely had to do that when I was in recovery, because again, I was trying to lessen my binges. So honouring what I wanted in that moment probably reduced the sort of chances of having a binge in the evening. And it is really hard, like you say, because honouring your hunger, we always see hunger as probably leading to a binge. But the binges happen because you don't honour the hunger in the first place. Changing what we normally do can really lead to, you know, healing that relationship. So I love that one. And tip number 6 we have for you is try to stop when you're full. So this is something that can be hard and it does take time, because when we're trying to stop binges, it can be a gradual process of binges lessening, but maybe still having struggles with overeating. You know, it's a whole process, and it's got its highs and lows in recovery, because our hunger cues can be all over the place, and it can really lead to us almost feeling like a bottomless pit. I know that that's what I was like. I was like, when is the time going to come when I actually feel full, or I feel like I can stop eating? And this is due to having restricted maybe for so long. Our body is almost crying out for food in fear of what normally happens, due to us normally feeling guilt from overeating, and then we restrict the next day. So our mind and body sort of goes into overdrive of overeating to almost store food in anticipation for what is normally to come, which in many cases is restriction. So hopefully by practicing all the tips we've mentioned before this tip, you can start to listen and be mindful of when you're actually full and say, okay, I'm full, and it's okay to stop eating. That food will be there later. It could be there later tonight. It could be there tomorrow. I can go back to it. It's not suddenly going to disappear, but I'm not restricting anymore. And make that promise to yourself and trust that you can stop when you're ready. And I think really letting that sort of click inside of you of, I'm not going to restrict.
Absolutely. And I definitely think another thing that people struggle with is, you know, we've been taught to finish your whole plate. Like, regardless of how you feel, you need to consume all of that food. Like you said, people feeling like, well, if I don't eat it now, it's going to go in the bin and that's a waste. And we've been made to feel guilty for wasting food. But I had to sort of adopt the mentality of, I either put this in a Tupperware box and eat it later, or tomorrow I can use my body like a human bin and try and just force it, because that's what you're doing. If you're not putting the food in the bin or not finding another use for it, you are just choosing to use your body as a bin instead. And that's where we want to sort of learn to obviously love our body, but just like respect our body. I think that's a mentality that a lot of people need to adopt.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like you say, when you're younger, you're always told, finish what's on your plate. And I see it so many times, you know, we're fully grown adults. We can sort of make our own decisions of when we're full. And I really do that now, even if it means I leave the tiniest bit on the plate. If I feel full and I feel that that mouthful is going to push me over the edge and it's going to make me feel painfully full, it's going to, I don't know, really disturb my sort of digestion, or I'm just going to want to sleep afterwards, I will leave that one potato on the plate, and no one's telling me to eat it, because, you know, and people do go, oh, why don't you eat that? And I just think, I just know that that's going to tip me over the edge. And it's being kind to your body and just saying, you know, I'm allowed to say when I'm full. I don't have to eat everything that's on the plate. And it's actually a really nice feeling of, again, recognizing your hunger cues.
Absolutely. And you mentioning that has just like unlocked a memory of mine. Like the first time that I chose to actually leave food on a plate purely because I just wasn't hungry anymore was such a powerful moment. Like I just remember recognizing that as such a win. Like the first time I'd done that, it just felt so amazing. And I remember being proud of it. And like, also just to like remind everyone, you're not going to get it right every time. There are so many different facets to your journey. It doesn't matter what journey you are on. There is so many, not just highs and lows, but so many different aspects. Sometimes you are going to eat to the point of being too full, and that's totally okay. All of these experiences are just another learning experience, and you can sort of take that away for next time and be like, actually, you know, next time I make myself some pasta, maybe I won't do as much. It's all just things to learn from, really. And our last tip, and I think this is the best tip to finish on, our tip number 7, is to adopt the attitude of gratitude. I love that so much. But just be grateful for the food that you are eating, almost as if everything you are eating is a reflection of how you are sort of now taking care of your body and fueling yourself and taking care of your mind and body. Food is a friend, and it's no longer the enemy. And your body is your friend as well. And just trying to like treat your body how you would treat someone that you loved or your best friend. And just also like acknowledging the time and effort that you put into creating that meal, the ingredients, the preparation, the intention that has been sort of involved with putting that food on your plate. It really helps us to just slow down and like see this experience as a more pleasurable one, that it's not just food. And this is definitely something I noticed in myself since I've like repaired my relationship with food. I have enjoyed cooking more, and I sort of found cooking as a gateway to sort of make myself delicious foods and to just be like grateful and just enjoy the process of cooking. And I know it's effort and I know it's time consuming, but cooking can be its own form of therapy.
Definitely.
Like cathartic, if you know what I mean. So I feel like the attitude of gratitude was a really big one for me. And just, you know, trying to be grateful for your body and the fact that you are showing your body that love and that respect by fueling it.
Yeah, and I think what you even say there, all of these tips that we've given you is going to sort of finally allow pure enjoyment of food. And again, that is the most liberating feeling. Like, create variety in what you eat. And we lose enjoyment for food when we are on diets or when we are restricting, because we eat the same thing over and over again. And when you say to yourself, oh my God, I can have a different lunch to what I had yesterday, it allows you to look forward to food. And again, that can lessen binges, because when you have more variety, you're going to feel less likely to reach into the cupboard and eat everything because you've been eating the same thing day in, day out. And I think the sort of last thing I want to say as well is that all of these tips that we have given you, we're not glorifying any certain thing or saying anything is right or wrong. You know, even as we said there, you know, stopping when you're full. Look, if you never do that, or you always eat everything that's on your plate, or you always feel like that you might be hungry, sort of, or there's always room for something after dinner, that is fine as well, because that might just be you. That might be the way that your body works. You know, I know that like there's sometimes when I always feel like I've got room for dessert. Like, I can eat whatever. There's a dessert that I want on that menu and I will make room. I've got a second stomach for that dessert. Like, yeah. So I think it's important to say as well, like we always say, it's your own journey. These are things that will work for us. And these are just tips for you being more mindful and aware of how you eat, in the hope of it healing your relationship with food. But yeah, Beth, is there any like one tip there that you feel is your favorite?
You know what? I feel like I love all of them. I think the most beneficial one, and I think the one that I need to adopt myself, is probably unplugging and just stop trying to multitask. I will easily have like 3 different things on the go, and that's like a fault within myself. But just sort of reflecting, if you are suffering with eating mindlessly, if you know that you are paying too much attention to your phone and not eating, if you know you are trying to, you know, eat while standing up and walking around, or you have to have the TV on and stuff, I think this is just an opportunity for you to reflect and see if there's any areas that you could maybe improve on. If you do feel like you are being a little bit mindless with like your eating habits, and we're not saying adopt all 7 tips at once, and we are not perfect either.
No.
We're reading through these being, we're going to try better tomorrow. But have you got any favorite tips? What is like your number one favorite or something that you're gonna try and improve on?
I think my favorite one is honoring your hunger. And I think because it's actually, when you look back on people's journeys or our journeys, I always see it as like, when in my points of restriction or not allowing myself food, I just want to give myself a hug. Like, I just want to like just say like it's okay. And it's the nicest feeling when you're eating something and you're like, oh my God, like I've allowed this. Like, and I feel no guilt for it. And I'm not going to restrict tomorrow. And you wake up in the morning and you feel more energized. And I think that's probably my favorite one, because anybody can tell you to do something, but when you're actually fully accepting of you doing it yourself, that's an amazing feeling. That's freeing, isn't it?
Absolutely. I love that so much. And I think it's just such a rewarding journey. Like, there are so many wins to look forward to along the way. And I think when we reflect on both of our journeys, you do nothing but smile, don't you? Because
Yeah.
you can just see the mini progressions and all the little moments where you realized, I've just unlearned a food rule, or I've just challenged myself and eaten something that I was too scared to eat a year ago. So yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing that. And I just think this
Loved
episode is
it.
full of so many helpful little tidbits, and we hope you guys did find this episode today really helpful. I definitely feel like mindful eating is something that we can all improve on, regardless of your goal. I think everyone can benefit from just slowing down. And that's what we want for these episodes, for you guys to be able to just take something positive away from them. So if you've ever got like a request or a topic suggestion you want to put forward, please don't hesitate to drop any of us a message on Instagram, or head to the Rewrite the Rules podcast Instagram page. We have also begun introducing guests to this podcast, as you guys may have noticed. So if there's anyone you think would be a good fit for us, or someone that you were just dying to hear from or hear us talk to, please let us know, and we will obviously try and make that happen. But as always, guys, we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, and we shall see you next time.
Yes, see you next time. Bye,
Bye,
guys.
guys.